Hello, everyone, and welcome to my world. I am, of course, Fred Kasdan. Of course, as you know, you can find me streaming live on Twitch 7 nights a week. You can find that link in the description down below. But for those who don't want to check the description, it's twitch.tv/Fred Kasdan. Now, initially, I was going to talk about the Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer this week. But I think um, everything that needed to be said about that trailer was covered by everyone else out there on YouTube. In that it basically is better than the initial trailer for Ghostbusters 2016. It shows respect for the franchise. It continues this. It's going to be continuing the story, and it actually looks good. It looks good. The limited special effects were on par and done in a similar style to what we saw in Ghostbusters 1 and 2. And the Ecto 1 is going to be more likely more prominently featured in this film than it was in the first two films altogether. I'm rather interested in the gunner seat, which is straight out of the real Ghostbusters cartoon. Anyways, but moving on from that. We are going to be talking more about Philadelphia sports today, or rather a couple of sports topics that caught my attention this week. And that was rather easy to do, don't you know, because I've been listening to more and more sports talk radio, going to and coming home from work. And there are two prominent sports talk radio stations here in the greater Philadelphia area. There's the crappy WIP, which is basically a garbage station. Any station that employed Howard Eskin for that long is a joke. It's a complete joke. Then you have the number one sports talk radio station in the greater Philadelphia area, 97.5 The Fanatic. Both stations are on the FM dial, but as you notice, there is only one that I actually remember to call the actual frequency number for. Anyway, some of the topics that caught my interest this week, there was two in particular. The first is the criticism and the response. The criticism from Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley on Joel Embiid and how he responded to said criticism. Now, let's put some things into context here. Joel Embiid last season was obviously very important to the Sixers making it to the playoffs, but as everyone remembers, he was basically his tank was empty in the playoffs. He basically had nothing left. The whole conversation of load management and trying to make sure he's available for key games. It obviously became an issue, and in response to that, this season at this point compared to last year, Embiid has played fewer minutes. His defense has definitely improved. I think he's ranked very highly in terms of defensive percentage. There is a particular stat, I forget what it is at this point in time, at the time of this recording, that shows that he is number one in his position for those who play his position more than 25 minutes a game. So it's not counting guys coming off the bench for limited duty. But so as the defense has improved, but his points are down. He's playing fewer minutes, so obviously he's not taking as many shots, and it's not going to score as much points. But so we got that context. Now here's the context of Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley, two NBA Hall of Famers, two guys who were known for dominating the one particular end of the floor. They were both. Neither man was known for their defense, which has been Embiid's strongest suit this year. So they're looking more at his offensive numbers, and they want him to be a dominant big man and to put in to get that extra giddy up in the step. Even though Barkley in particular said you can't play hard every single night, but you should be dominant every single night, which is an oxymoron. Because they play 82 games a year. Now, Embiid, taking that to heart, he responded when he was obviously asked about it by the sports media. He was very respectful in his response. He really thought about what they said, and obviously he respects Barkley and Shaq because these two, they're both living legends. And let's face it, Shaq has 4 rings, and Barkley has none, but both are in the Hall of Fame. So they obviously know something. And that brings me to the game a couple nights ago, Sixers versus Celtics, and something that Embiid has not appeared to be reemerged, and it's the smiling Joel Embiid. And you kind of notice that most players in the NBA take the game really seriously. They always have these scowls on their face and so forth. They're looking mean and everything, and that they play hard and everything and so forth. But how many players actually look like they are having fun? Think about that. It's very, very few. And the last time we saw Embiid look like he was actually having fun out there was when he got into that little tuffle and he was pumping up the crowd in Philadelphia at home, and he was so energized, he was so alive, he was so pumped. And then in the game since then, he looked like he was pouting and he was like looking to try and take things more serious and so forth, as if he had got a talking to, more likely from Elton Brand, who was in the Sixers front office. And Embiid definitely didn't look anything like how he did that particular night. And then here comes the criticism from Barkley and Shaq, and suddenly in Boston, Embiid says like he's having fun. Like he said, he's going to play the game his way. He's going to play and have fun. And I got to respect that. Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's not worth doing. And clearly, Embiid loves to play basketball, and if him smiling and being somewhat antagonistic when the Sixers are going into someone else's building and riling up the crowd at home is going to get Embiid going all out as much as he can and make, while at the same time being conservative about, well, more like Brett Brown, being conservative of his minutes to make sure that Embiid has something in the take for the playoffs come the spring and summer. I'm all for it. I, without question, am all for it. Because an enthusiastic Joel Embiid is clearly a force to be reckoned with on the court. Any average Joe fan, such as myself, can realize that. So, moving on to the other topic that has caught my attention this week, and it's pretty obvious it's going to be about the Philadelphia Eagles and their chances of making the playoffs. And let's face it, the Eagles this year stink. They do. Doug Peterson looks like he's forgotten how to coach football. You got receivers who don't want to play. They clearly don't want to play. 'Cause, and they're going into this game this Sunday, tomorrow, with basically nothing. The Eagles don't have anything that's a real threat. And they're going to be hoping for the guys who basically saved the season against New York on this past Monday. The Wards, the Scotts, and so forth. Basically, guys who were on the practice squad to step up. And while the Eagles at this time are favored to win that game, it's actually a game they could lose. Because for as bad as Washington is on offense, they're pretty damn good on defense. And if Washington can keep the Eagles limited in what points they score, the Eagles can lose. And then you essentially have that Dallas game the following week is going to be must win. It's must win regardless, because Philadelphia versus Dallas up here is a big deal. I'm really not sure how it is down in Texas. It's like if they actually give a damn as much as people up here do. But the Eagles definitely need to win tomorrow. And they obviously got to beat Dallas if they want to make the playoffs. I know there's a game after the Dallas game. I totally forget against who at this point in time. Oh, I believe it's against the Giants again. So that's But this Eagles season basically rides on tomorrow, and this is of course assuming assuming Dallas loses its game. And I believe they're playing the Rams. And obviously, the Rams are very good. So the Rams should put a stomping on Dallas. But stranger things have, of course, happened. It's why they don't go, why analytics and statistics don't just decide, okay, based on whatever figures and ratings, this team wins, blah, 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 blah. Who wins, who loses is not just factored in on by a calculating machine. No, it is, the games are actually played. But if I'm any Eagles fan, don't be too confident about the game tomorrow against Washington. It's a must win. The Eagles can't lose that game, because if they lose and Dallas somehow wins, that's basically game over. That's game over for this season, which has already been a horrible season. And now, how could the Eagles win tomorrow against Washington? Let Carson Wentz be Carson Wentz. Don't let him be that pocket passer that's okay, drop back 3 steps to throw. Because obviously that is not Carson Wentz. That's not his strong suit. You gotta let him be the athlete that he is, and that kind of showed a bit Monday night against this past Monday. Now the question is, would Washington be ready for it? More than likely, but at least it's not that standard garbage that Peterson has been having him do all this season. That obviously has not been working. So it is what it is there. Anyway, as I run out of things to say on that particular topic, we're going to wrap this up here. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and to get notified of anything that I say here and post here on this little YouTube channel of mine. And come back next week with another topic. And again, as a reminder, you can find me streaming 7 nights a week over at twitch.tv/Fred Kasdan. And this upcoming week, I'll be playing Overwatch, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney Trilogy, Star Trek Online, and Diablo 3, as well as Twitch Sings. Something different pretty much over the course of every single week I do. But those are the big plans for this upcoming week. Catch you later, everybody, and have yourself a great rest of your weekend.